What if I told you that alchemy was never really about turning lead into gold? What if the dusty images of old men bending over bubbling flasks were just a metaphor, an ancient code pointing to a far greater treasure, a treasure hidden not in the mines of the earth, but in the chambers of your own heart and mind? Because the real gold of alchemy is you. And once you understand that, you'll never look at your struggles, your energy, or even your own consciousness the same way again. What if I told you that alchemy was never really about turning lead into gold? What if those old images of bearded men bending over bubbling flasks were just metaphors, disguises, symbols pointing to a treasure far greater than anything locked away in a king's vault? A treasure not hidden in the soil of the earth, but in the chambers of your own heart and mind. Because the real gold of alchemy is you. And once you understand that, you'll never look at your struggles, your energy, or even your own consciousness the same way again. For centuries, alchemy has been wrapped in mystery. On the surface, it looks like a strange medieval science, a kind of proto-chemistry where people mixed strange powders, burned metals, and hunted for the legendary Philosopher's Stone. It's easy to dismiss it as superstition, as the failed science of an age before microscopes and laboratories. But beneath the smoke and the cryptic symbols, something deeper was being preserved. The true adepts, the ones who wrote in coded language and painted their secrets into elaborate illustrations, were never just chasing material gold. They were talking about a different kind of transformation. Lead, in their secret language, wasn't just lead. It symbolized the heavy, unrefined state of the human spirit, our ignorance, our fears, our unconscious habits. Gold, on the other hand, wasn't simply a precious metal. It symbolized the perfected self, radiant, awake, powerful, free. Alchemy was the art of taking the lead of ordinary human existence and refining it into the gold of awakened consciousness. This is why you find the same ideas echoed across so many ancient traditions. From Egypt to China, from India to Greece, one truth comes up again and again. Everything is energy. The universe isn't just matter, it's vibration, frequency, flow. Your body, your emotions, your thoughts, they're all patterns of energy. And if everything is energy, then everything can be transformed. Alchemy, at its core, was about learning to work with this energy, to purify it, to direct it, and ultimately to transform it into conscious power. That's why alchemical texts and drawings are filled with suns and moons, serpents, vessels, flames, and strange mythical creatures. They weren't random decorations. They were energy maps, codes for the processes that take place inside us. The furnace, for example, represented the inner fire of discipline and focus. The vessel symbolized the human body, the container of transformation. The Philosopher's Stone stood for awakened consciousness itself, an indestructible state of inner power. To really grasp this, imagine walking through Alexandria in the 7th century, when Greek, Egyptian, and Eastern wisdom blended together in that great city of learning. The word chemia was used there, meaning the black land, a name for the fertile soil of the Nile. From chemia came the word alchemy, but the black soil wasn't just about earth. It symbolized the dark, raw potential within human beings. Just like the soil hides seeds waiting to bloom, you and I carry within us an immense potential waiting to awaken. The alchemist's work was to cultivate that soil, to plant seeds of transformation, and to grow them into radiant light. As centuries passed, alchemy found its way into medieval Europe, hidden in monasteries, whispered about in secret societies. Its symbols grew stranger, more guarded. On the surface, these people seemed obsessed with metals. But if you read carefully, you see the same message. The real gold is spiritual. Paracelsus, one of the most famous alchemists of the 16th century, said it openly. Alchemy is not only for the making of gold and silver, but for the making of a man. He meant that true alchemy was about the making of a new kind of human being. The alchemists spoke of three great principles: sulfur, mercury, and salt. To a chemist, these are just substances. But in the symbolic language of transformation, they represented forces inside us. Sulfur was fire, passion, willpower. Mercury was fluidity, adaptability, the quicksilver of the mind. Salt was structure, the grounding body, the stable base. The work of alchemy was to bring these forces into balance, to unite the fiery drive of sulfur with the flowing intelligence of mercury, and to anchor both in the stability of salt. When those forces aligned, a new energy could be born. Consciousness itself could be awakened. The lead of ordinary existence could begin to shine like gold. But here's the thing about transformation. It isn't easy. The furnace of the alchemist wasn't just an image of fire, it was the symbol of life's trials. Pain, struggle, disappointment. These are the flames that test us, burn away illusions, and reveal who we really are. Think about it. Why do some people break under hardship while others rise stronger? It's the same fire, the same trial. For one person, it destroys. For another, it refines. That is alchemy at work. The same difficulty that turns one life into ashes can transmute another life into shining gold. When you begin to look at your own struggles through this lens, something changes. Every setback becomes raw material. Every disappointment is lead waiting to be transmuted. Every challenge you face is an invitation to step into the furnace and let it refine you. That's what it means to be an alchemist of your own life. And this is why alchemy matters so much today. We live in a world overflowing with distractions, stress, and noise. We chase money, status, and pleasure, believing those things are the gold. Yet so many people, even after achieving success, feel empty, anxious, unfulfilled. That's because they're looking in the wrong place. The gold they're chasing outside is just a shadow. The real treasure lies within. Alchemy flips the script. It whispers, the gold you seek is not outside, it's inside you. By mastering your energy, by transforming fear into courage, confusion into clarity, pain into wisdom, you become the alchemist of your own life. You don't need a laboratory of stone walls and bubbling flasks. You are the laboratory. Your body, your mind, your soul, these are the instruments of transformation. And so the great secret of alchemy reveals itself. It was never about metal. It was about the mind, the spirit, the transformation of ordinary human energy into conscious power. The ancient adepts disguised their wisdom in symbols so that only those who were ready would understand. Now, the veil is thinner. We can see clearly that every hardship, every fire, every trial is part of the great work, the process of refining the lead within us into gold. And this is just the beginning. Because if you follow this path deeper, if you step fully into the alchemist's world, you'll discover something even more profound. The laboratory isn't somewhere outside. It's already inside you. Every breath you take, every thought you have, every emotion that stirs in your chest is part of the alchemical process. In the next part of this journey, we'll step inside that inner laboratory. We'll see how your body, your emotions, and your mind act as the real tools of transformation. And once you see that clearly, you'll realize that you already hold the Philosopher's Stone. You just need to learn how to use it. Imagine for a moment that every single human being carries a secret laboratory within them. No stone walls, no smoky flasks, no dusty manuscripts, just flesh, bone, breath, and thought. This inner laboratory is alive, and you've been working in it since the day you were born, whether you've realized it or not. The ancient alchemists spoke in symbols because they understood something subtle. The real transformation doesn't take place in fireproof furnaces, but in the human being. Your body, your emotions, and your mind. These are the true elements of the alchemical process. And once you begin to see them that way, everything changes. The body is the vessel. Think of the countless drawings of alchemists carefully sealing glass flasks, warning that no air must escape or the experiment would fail. That flask was always a metaphor for us. Your body holds your energy. It contains the raw materials of transformation. Without it, nothing else is possible. And yet, most people spend their entire lives at war with their own vessel. They criticize its shape, push it past exhaustion, ignore its signals, or fill it with poisons. They forget that the body isn't just a tool for moving through the world. It's the sacred container where alchemy unfolds. The vessel has to be cared for, fed with nourishment, strengthened with movement, restored with rest. When you treat, the body is sacred, you protect the laboratory from cracks and leaks. Because what happens if a glass flask cracks during an experiment? The energy escapes. The whole process collapses. The same is true for us. If our body is neglected, drained, or broken down, the fire of transformation can't be sustained. But, of course, the body is only the beginning. Inside the vessel, the true work takes place in the currents of emotion. Emotions are energy in motion, waves of vibration moving through the body. They are powerful beyond measure, and yet most of us treat them as problems to be avoided. We run from sadness, we numb anger, we cling to joy. We label some emotions good and others bad, never realizing that every single one of them is raw material for transformation. Think of lead again, dull, heavy, resistant. That's what fear feels like in the chest, or grief in the stomach, or rage in the throat. These emotions weigh us down. But if you place lead into the furnace and heat it long enough, something extraordinary happens. It transforms. The same is true of emotion. If you bring awareness, if you allow yourself to feel it fully without judgment, if you hold it in the fire of presence, it changes. Fear becomes courage, grief becomes compassion, anger becomes strength. Each emotion is a hidden seed of gold, if you dare to face it instead of running away. The alchemists use the image of fire for this very reason. Fire purifies. It burns away what is false. It breaks things down into their essence. In your inner laboratory, the fire is your awareness. The more conscious you become of your emotions, the more heat you bring to them. And in that fire, they transmute. Without awareness, emotions stagnate and rot. With awareness, they transform into power. And then there is the mind, the most restless, volatile element of all. If the body is the vessel and emotions are the raw material, the mind is the alchemist's hand, always stirring, mixing, shaping. Yet most minds are wild, scattered, unfocused. They jump from thought to thought, craving novelty, chasing distraction. And just like a careless hand can ruin an experiment, an undisciplined mind can sabotage transformation. This is why every alchemical tradition emphasizes discipline of thought, focus of attention, and clarity of vision. Meditation, prayer, contemplation, all of these are tools for training the mind to become a steady flame instead of a flickering candle. Because once the mind is clear and focused, it becomes a magnifying glass. It can direct energy where it's needed. It can hold the vision of gold so strongly that the lead inside has no choice but to rise toward it. When body, emotion, and mind work together, the laboratory comes alive. The vessel is strong, the materials are rich, the fire is steady. This is when transformation becomes possible. But if even one of these is neglected, if the body is weak, if emotions are suppressed, if the mind is scattered, the process stalls. Energy leaks. The gold remains hidden. This is why so many ancient alchemical texts stressed balance. They spoke of sulfur, mercury, and salt, not as chemicals, but as living forces inside us. Sulfur, the fiery will, represents passion and drive. Mercury, the quicksilver, represents the fluid intelligence of the mind. Salt, the stable foundation, represents the body and the grounding of reality. All three must be honored, or the experiment fails. Too much sulfur, and you burn out in your own passion. Too much mercury, and you dissolve in endless thought. Too much salt, and you stagnate, solid but lifeless. Harmony is the key. If this all sounds abstract, let's bring it closer. Imagine a moment in your life when everything felt in chaos. Maybe you were overwhelmed by stress at work, your body exhausted, your emotions running wild, your mind spinning in 1,000 directions. That state is the inner laboratory in disorder. Nothing can transform in that chaos. But imagine another moment, a rare day when you felt centered, your body strong, your emotions clear, your mind calm and focused. In that state, haven't you felt a glimpse of something radiant, something golden shining through? That is the beginning of alchemy. That is the moment when ordinary existence begins to transform. And here's the most important truth. This process doesn't require you to become someone else. It doesn't require you to chase external gold or find some mythical stone. You already carry everything you need. The laboratory is within you. The materials are within you. The fire is within you. The work is to recognize it, to respect it, to begin to use it consciously. Every breath you take is part of the alchemy. Breath is the bridge between body, emotion, and mind. When you breathe deeply and fully, you calm the body, soften emotions, and steady the mind all at once. That's why nearly every ancient practice, from yoga to martial arts to meditation, begins with the breath. It is the simplest, most immediate tool of transformation. Even something as simple as paying attention changes the experiment. Awareness itself is the philosopher's stone in miniature. When you shine attention on your body heals. When you shine attention on your emotions, they begin to release and transform. When you shine attention on your thoughts, the restless chaos of the mind begins to quiet. Attention is the secret heat of the laboratory. Most people scatter it everywhere, wasting its power. The alchemist learns to concentrate it, to direct it, to use it deliberately. So, what does this mean for you? It means that every time you choose presence over distraction, every time you breathe through an emotion instead of running from it, every time you focus your mind instead of letting it wander, you are practicing alchemy. You are turning lead into gold. You may not see it immediately, but over time, the change becomes undeniable. The heaviness inside you begins to lift. The dullness begins to shine. The fragments of your being start to unify into something powerful, radiant, whole. And perhaps the most beautiful part of this truth is that the laboratory never closes. You don't need special tools. You don't need to retreat from the world. Life itself provides the materials. Every conflict, every joy, every challenge is another ingredient for transformation. The alchemist doesn't wait for perfect conditions. The alchemist works with whatever is at hand, knowing that even the darkest lead hides the brightest gold. This is the hidden wisdom that echoes across centuries. The texts may be cryptic, the symbols strange, but the message is clear once you see it. You are the alchemist. You are the vessel. You are the fire. And the work of a lifetime is to transform what lies within you into the conscious power that has always been your birthright. And so the journey continues. Because once you see your own body, emotions, and mind as the inner laboratory, the question becomes, what will you create with it? What new form of life? What higher level of being? Will you forge in your own fire? In the next part of this story, we will step into the furnace itself, the trials, the struggles, the heat of life that burns away the false and reveals the true. And there, in that fire, you will see how the transformation of energy becomes not just philosophy, but lived reality. Because only through the fire does the gold emerge. Every true alchemist knew that transformation demanded fire. Without fire, nothing changes. Without heat, the raw material stays the same. You can study the vessel, polish the tools, admire the symbols, but unless the furnace is lit, no gold will ever be made. And so it is in life. The furnace is the challenges we face, the struggles that test us, the pain that feels unbearable. We often see them as punishment, as bad luck, as signs that life is against us. But to the alchemist, these moments are the very heart of the great work. The fire is not there to destroy us. It is there to refine us. Think about the hardest moments of your life. The heartbreak that split you open, the failure that crushed your confidence, the loss that made you question everything. In those moments, you were inside the furnace, and though it felt like you were being reduced to ashes, something else was happening too. The false layers of you, the illusions, the ego, the masks, were being burned away. And in the ashes, something stronger, truer, purer was waiting to be born. The ancients spoke of calcination, the first stage of alchemy, where a substance is subjected to intense fire until it crumbles into ash. Symbolically, calcination represents the burning away of the ego, the destruction of the false self. Life does this to us whether we like it or not. We are calcined by disappointment, by struggle, by loss. But the choice is ours. Resist the fire and cling to the ashes of what was, or surrender to the heat and allow something new to emerge. It's no accident that so many myths across cultures speak of heroes passing through fire, descending into darkness, or facing death before their transformation. Think of the phoenix, consumed by flames only to rise again more radiant than before. Think of the blacksmith, hammering raw metal in the forge, shaping it into something strong and sharp. The message is universal. Without fire, no greatness is born. Without trial, no true power awakens. But what does this fire look like in everyday life? Sometimes it's external. Financial struggles, broken relationships, unexpected illness, the loss of someone you love. Other times it's internal. Anxiety, depression, loneliness, doubt. These are furnaces too, just as real as any burning flame. And inside each of them lies the possibility of transmutation. When fear rises in the middle of the night, your chest tight and your thoughts racing, that fear is lead. It is heavy, suffocating. But if you breathe into it, if you allow yourself to sit in the furnace of fear instead of fleeing from it, something remarkable begins to happen. Slowly, fear melts into awareness. Awareness sharpens into courage. The very energy that once held you captive becomes fuel for your liberation. That is alchemy. When grief floods your body after a great loss, it feels like drowning. You want to push it away, numb it, bury it. But if you dare to let grief burn, if you let it consume the illusions of permanence and control, then something softer emerges. Compassion, the ability to sit with the suffering of others, to understand pain, without judgment, to hold the fragility of life tenderly. The ashes of grief become the gold of compassion. When anger blazes in your chest, it can feel destructive, dangerous. Many people suppress it, ashamed of its heat. Others let it explode outward, burning everything in its path. But if you can, hold anger in the furnace of awareness, neither repressing nor exploding. It begins to transmute. Anger's raw fire refines into strength, into clarity, into the courage to set boundaries and protect what is sacred. The destructive flame becomes a creative power. This is the essence of shadow work, the willingness to face the darkest parts of ourselves, the parts we deny, repress, or project onto others. The alchemist does not run from the shadow. He brings it into the furnace. She holds it in the fire of consciousness until its hidden gold is revealed. Every fear hides courage. Every wound hides wisdom. Every shadow hides light. And yet most people avoid the furnace. They flee from pain, numb themselves with distraction, bury their emotions under layers of busyness and entertainment. They never allow the fire to do its work. They never see that the very thing they're running from is the doorway to their transformation. The alchemist is different. The alchemist steps into the fire willingly, not because they enjoy pain, but because they know what lies on the other side. The trials of life, then, are not obstacles to transformation. They are the transformation. The fire is not the enemy. It is the ally. Every challenge, every heartbreak, every failure is a hidden furnace, an invitation to burn away the lead and reveal the gold. The question is never, why is this happening to me? The real question is, what can this fire awaken within me? There's a moment in every alchemical journey when the flames grow so hot that the old self can no longer survive. It feels like death, and in a way, it is. The death of illusions, the death of false identities, the death of everything that is not truly you. But remember, in the language of alchemy, death is never the end. Death is transformation. The caterpillar must die for the butterfly to be born. The seed must crack open for the plant to grow. The phoenix must burn for the radiant wings to spread. So how do you live this truth here and now? You start by changing your relationship with struggle. Instead of asking, how do I avoid pain? You ask, how can I use this pain? Instead of shrinking from fear, you lean into it. Instead of numbing your grief, you let it wash through you. Instead of exploding in anger, you breathe into it and discover its hidden strength. This is not easy work. It demands courage, patience, presence. But every time you do it, you are practicing alchemy. You are transmuting the lead of your life into conscious power. And conscious power is very different from the power most people chase. It isn't domination over others. It isn't fame, wealth, or control. Conscious power is the ability to stand in the fire of life and remain centered, awake, unshaken. It is the ability to meet fear with courage, grief with compassion, anger with clarity. It is the unshakable gold that emerges when everything false has been burned away. Think of the strongest people you've ever met. Not necessarily the loudest or the most outwardly successful, but the ones who carry a quiet radiance. The ones whose presence calms you, whose words cut straight to the truth, whose eyes seem to see through illusion. Those people have walked through fire. They have been calcined. They have faced their shadows, and what remains is gold. This is why the alchemists called their work the magnum opus, the great work, not because it was easy, but because it was the most important work a human being could do, more valuable than kingdoms, more enduring than monuments, more precious than any material gold. The great work was the transformation of the human being into a radiant vessel of conscious power. And here's the most beautiful part. The fire never goes out. Life will always bring trials. Struggles will come again and again. But once you see them as furnaces, once you learn to step into the flames instead of fleeing from them, every challenge becomes an opportunity. Every difficulty becomes another chance to refine yourself, to burn away the false and reveal the true. So the next time life sets a fire in your path, don't run, don't hide, step closer, feel the heat. Trust that the flames are not there to destroy you, but to refine you. Let the fire do its work. And as the ashes fall away, watch as the gold within you begins to shine. Because that is the real alchemy. That is the moment when energy transforms into conscious power. And once you've tasted that gold, nothing else will ever compare. And yet even the furnace is not the final stage. Beyond the fire, beyond the trials and the ashes, lies the greatest secret of all, the philosopher's stone itself. Not a jewel, not a crystal, but the awakened self. The indestructible center of consciousness that cannot be shaken by time, loss, or death. In the next part of our journey, we will step into that secret. We will discover what it means to hold, the stone within, and how to live an alchemical life every single day. Every alchemist dreamed of the Philosopher's Stone. The stories say it could turn any base metal into pure gold, cure every illness, and even grant immortality. For centuries, seekers searched for it in caves, in laboratories, in ancient texts. Kings offered fortunes to anyone who could produce it. Explorers risked their lives chasing whispers of its existence. But the true adepts knew something the rest did not. The stone was never a physical object. It was never meant to be found in the outer world. The stone was always within. What does it mean to hold the Philosopher's Stone inside yourself? It means you have reached a state where your consciousness is indestructible, where the lead of fear, grief, and anger no longer weighs you down, but transforms instantly into courage, compassion, and strength. It means that nothing life throws at you can shake the golden core of who you are. You become a being who carries eternity in your presence, immortality not of the body, but of the spirit. This is why the stone was said to cure every illness. Not because it was a magical pill, but because consciousness itself has the power to heal. A person rooted in awareness does not escape pain, but they no longer suffer in the same way. They may feel the aches of the body, the sting of loss, but their center remains untouched. They carry a medicine that no pharmacy can sell, the medicine of presence, clarity, and peace. And as for turning lead into gold, the stone does this every day. With it, every hardship becomes a lesson, every wound a doorway, every shadow a source of light. The ordinary lead of daily existence becomes the shining gold of wisdom. To hold the stone is to live in a world where nothing is wasted, where every experience is raw material for growth. This is the real immortality the alchemists spoke of. Not bodies that never age, but souls that never die. When you awaken to the golden center within, you realize that who you truly are was never born and can never die. The body may come and go, the personality may change, the circumstances may rise and fall, but the consciousness that witnesses it all is eternal. That is the Philosopher's Stone. That is the treasure hidden in plain sight. But how do you reach it? How do you live as someone who carries the stone? The answer is both, simple and demanding. You practice the great work every single day. You tend to the vessel of the body with care. You bring awareness to the raw materials of emotion. You discipline the restless fire of the mind. You face the furnace of struggle without fear. And in every moment, you choose awareness over unconsciousness, presence over distraction, transformation over stagnation. This doesn't mean you become perfect. The stone doesn't erase your humanity. It perfects it. You still feel fear, but you no longer drown in it. You still feel grief, but it deepens your compassion instead of breaking you. You still feel anger, but it sharpens your clarity instead of consuming you. The gold within shines through the cracks of ordinary life until everything you touch begins to glow. And here's the extraordinary part. This transformation is not just for you. The gold you cultivate radiates outward. Just as one candle can light 1,000 others without losing its flame, your conscious power ignites the people around you. A single awakened person changes families, communities, even the course of history. The alchemists knew this. They spoke of the stone not just as a personal treasure, but as the seed of a new world. Imagine what happens when more and more people awaken to their inner stone. Fear gives way to courage. Division gives way to compassion. Greed gives way to wisdom. A society built not on the pursuit of external gold, but on the realization of the gold within. That was always the hidden dream of alchemy. Not just the transformation of the individual, but the transformation of humanity itself. And this is why the symbols were kept so carefully, hidden in coded texts and mysterious drawings. The adepts knew the truth could not be forced on anyone. It had to be discovered, chosen, lived. You cannot hand someone the stone. You can only point the way, share the fire, inspire the journey. Each person must step into the laboratory of their own life, face their own furnace, and uncover the gold for themselves. So what does this mean for you, right now, in this moment? It means that every challenge you face, every emotion that stirs inside you, every thought that crosses your mind is part of your great work. You don't need to wait for the perfect conditions. You don't need ancient scrolls or hidden formulas. You already carry the stone within you. The work is to recognize it, to trust it, to live it. When you wake up tomorrow and feel the weight of another day, remember that heaviness is lead, and lead can be transformed. When someone hurts you and anger flares in your chest, remember that fire is raw material and it can be refined into strength. When grief pulls you under, remember, those tears are ashes, and ashes fertilize the soil where compassion grows. In every moment, the choice is before you, to stay in lead or to turn it into gold. And if you stumble, if you forget, if you fall back into old habits, do not despair. Even failure is part of the work. Even mistakes are furnaces. The alchemists spoke of many stages, many repetitions, many cycles of heating and cooling before the gold appeared. Transformation is not instant. It is a lifetime of practice, a rhythm of falling and rising, burning and healing. What matters is not that you never falter, but that you keep returning to the fire, keep choosing awareness, keep walking the path of the great work. In time, something subtle shifts. The lead within you grows lighter. The gold grows brighter. The stone reveals itself not as something you find, but as something you become. And then you realize the great secret that the adepts have whispered through the ages. You are the philosopher's stone. You are the treasure you have been seeking. So listen closely. The next time you hear the old tales of alchemists in their laboratories, don't dismiss them as superstition. Remember what they were really saying. Remember that the true furnace is your life. The true metals are your emotions. The true vessel is your body. The true fire is your awareness. And the true stone, the one that can never be lost, is already glowing within you. This is the real meaning of alchemy, not the pursuit of material wealth, but the transformation of energy into conscious power. Not the creation of external gold, but the realization of the gold you already carry. Not immortality of the body, but the awakening of the eternal self. And so, the great work is not something you read about in old books. It is the life you are living right now. Every breath is an experiment. Every choice is a transmutation. Every challenge is a furnace. And every moment is an opportunity to remember that you are not just flesh and bone, you are an alchemist, and you are the gold.